Imagine this. You're at a candlelit dinner, the kind where the air hums with soft music and the clink of glasses, and you're sitting across from her, a woman whose laughter lights up the room, her eyes glinting with a mystery you can't quite unravel. You've pulled out all the stops, the perfect restaurant, the charming stories, the endless compliments, pouring your heart into proving how much you care, how much you're the good guy she deserves. You're giving her everything, your time, your attention, your devotion, hoping she'll see you as the man she can't live without. But as the night unfolds, you notice her gaze drifting, her smile fading into something polite, distant, almost bored. She's not leaning in, she's pulling back, and you feel it. A quiet rejection that cuts deeper than words. You've done everything right. So why isn't she captivated? Why does it feel like the more you give, the less she wants you? Why does the man at the bar, the one who hasn't said a word, who exudes a quiet, unshakable calm, seem to hold her attention in a way you never could? This is the paradox that haunts you. You've been taught that attraction is won through goodness, through kindness, selflessness, and endless effort to prove your worth. Society tells you to be the provider, the pleaser, the man who lays his heart bare to win her over, to show her how much you care, how much you're willing to give. But what if that's the very thing that makes you forgettable? What if the women you desire aren't drawn to your overt efforts or your open love, but to something far deeper, far more primal, a controlled presence, a quiet mystery, a man who commands respect, not by what he gives, but by what he holds back? What if true desire isn't sparked by your goodness, but by your power, the kind that comes from being unreadable, anchored, and unshakable in a world that expects you to bend? You've felt it, haven't you? The exhaustion of being too available, too predictable, too easy to reach. Always there, always giving, only to watch her drift away, her curiosity fading with every move you make to prove yourself. The way you've poured your heart out, shared your deepest fears, texted her back instantly, thinking it would make her feel safe, only to feel her pull back, her interest replaced by a quiet indifference. The way you've tried to be everything she wants, only to become a solved equation in her eyes, someone she can control, someone she doesn't need to chase, someone who no longer sparks the glint of desire you so desperately crave. Why does this keep happening? Why does being the good guy so often leave you unseen, unchosen, while the man who seems to care less, who holds his ground, becomes the one she can't stop thinking about? Niccolo Machiavelli, the master of power and perception, understood this dance centuries ago. He knew that power isn't given, it's taken by those who control the battlefield within, who embody restraint over reckless loyalty, who become unreadable rather than predictable. In a world where women are drawn to instinct over logic, where attraction is a game of tension and polarity, Machiavelli's rules of attraction and power dynamics offer a different path, a way to shift from being controlled to commanding desire, from being figured out to becoming a mystery she can't resist. But why are we so drawn to this trap of overgiving, of losing ourselves in her gaze at the cost of our own power? What drives us to trade our strength for her approval, and what does it cost us in the end? Let's dive deeper into the hidden forces at play and uncover the truth behind why you've been fading in her eyes, and how to become the man she can't stop wanting. You felt the sting of her indifference at that candlelit dinner, the sinking realization that your endless giving, your compliments, your openness, your desperate need to be seen, left you predictable, forgettable, while the man who held his ground, who revealed nothing, became the one she couldn't look away from. You've been conditioned to believe that attraction is a transaction, that if you just give enough, If you prove your goodness through kindness and selflessness, she'll be yours. But the hidden problem isn't your effort. It's the belief that your worth, your desirability, your very existence depends on her seeing you, on her validating you with her gaze, her affection, her desire. Let's uncover why you've been trapped in this cycle of overgiving and what Machiavelli understood about the forces that keep you from commanding the attraction you seek. Your psychology is wired for connection, but it's also your greatest blind spot. Your brain craves approval. It's a survival mechanism. When you pour yourself into her, when you overshare, text back instantly, or shower her with compliments, your reward system lights up with dopamine, urging you to chase that fleeting high of being chosen, of being seen as enough. But this wiring sets a trap. The fear of rejection activates your amygdala, driving you to overgive, to become predictable, to prove your worth by making yourself fully available, fully known. Cognitive biases amplify this. The availability heuristic makes you focus on what's visible, your kindness, your effort, your loyalty, because those are the things society tells you matter. But this blinds you to her deeper instincts. Neuroscience shows that this neediness, those quick confessions, those desperate attempts to be seen, spikes cortisol, keeping you in a state of stress, eroding your confidence, and making you appear less desirable. Why does giving more make you feel less wanted? Because your brain is handing her the power to define you, making you a solved equation in her eyes, someone she can control rather than chase. Philosophically, this trap echoes Nietzsche's critique of the slave morality. He argued that society conditions men to seek approval through self-sacrifice, to be the good man who gives everything, who proves his worth through endless effort. But this sacrifices their power. You've been taught that a man's value lies in what he can offer: kindness, availability, devotion. But Nietzsche would call this weakness, a surrender to the herd's expectations rather than a creation of your own truth. In The Prince, Machiavelli understood that it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. And that power comes from restraint, not reckless giving. When you overgive, when you become predictable and fully known, you're playing by the herd's rules. Not the primal game of attraction, a game where women are drawn to instinct over logic, to tension over comfort, to the unreadable man who commands respect rather than the one who begs for love. Society doubles down on this conditioning. In a world obsessed with validation, think of the dating apps that reduce you to a profile, the cultural praise for the nice guy, the pressure to be her everything. You're taught that attraction is a logical exchange, that you must outgive, outperform, overpromise to be desired. Aldous Huxley warned in Brave New World of a society that keeps you chasing external approval to avoid facing your own depth. You see it in modern relationships, the man who shares everything too soon, who's always available, who never holds back, thinking it'll make her stay. But this isn't desire, it's control, a dynamic where you trade your power for her fleeting attention, leaving you open to being managed, dismissed, or discarded for the man who doesn't play this game. Carl Jung would add a deeper layer. Your overgiving stems from a disconnection from your shadow, the part of you that knows your worth isn't tied to her gaze, the part that craves sovereignty over submission. When you ignore this shadow, you let her instincts take over, instincts that scan for stability, for a man who governs his own emotions rather than being governed by hers. But what happens when you keep giving, keep becoming predictable, keep playing by these societal rules? What happens when you ignore the power Machiavelli knew could make you unshakable? The consequences are more profound than you might think, and they're already shaping your life in ways you can't ignore. Let's uncover those costs and see why you can't afford to stay in this trap any longer. You've been caught in the trap of overgiving, pouring your heart out at that candlelit dinner, believing that your kindness, your availability, your endless effort to prove your goodness would make her desire you, would make her see you as the man she can't live without. You've seen how your psychology, societal conditioning, and philosophical illusions have driven you to play this losing game, focusing on being predictable and fully known, while ignoring the primal instincts that truly spark her attraction. But the unseen consequences of this approach are silently unraveling your life, your relationships, and your very sense of self, leaving you further from commanding desire than you realize. Let's uncover the hidden costs of this mistake, the toll it's taking on your reality, and why you can't afford to keep playing by these rules. First, consider your relationships. When you overgive, showering her with compliments, always being available, laying your heart bare to prove your worth, you think you're showing devotion, making yourself the obvious choice. But you're not. You're signaling neediness, a lack of mystery, and in doing so, you kill the tension that fuels her desire. She might appreciate your effort at first, but over time, your predictability makes you a solved equation, someone she can control rather than chase. You felt it, haven't you? The way her interest fades the more you give, the way she pulls back when you're always there, the way you're left scrambling to keep her attention, only to be met with indifference or outright rejection. Social psychology calls this the reactance effect. When you give too much, you lose your autonomy, and she loses her curiosity. Over time, this erodes your ability to form deep connections, leaving you stuck in a cycle of fleeting attention, feeling more invisible with every attempt to be seen. The damage goes deeper. It strikes at your core identity. Every time you overgive, every time you trade your truth for her approval, you chip away at your self-respect. You start to doubt your worth, your desirability, your ability to be desired without performing, without begging for her gaze. Cognitive biases like the self-blame bias make you internalize her withdrawal. You think you're not enough, that you need to give more, be more, prove more. But this only deepens the wound. Neurologically, this constant neediness keeps your brain in a state of stress, flooding your system with cortisol, impairing your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for confidence and emotional control. You become anxious, insecure, unable to hold your own in her presence. Why does her indifference hurt so much after you've given everything? Because it's not just her rejection. It's the erosion of the self you sacrificed, a self you've buried to be loved, leaving you nothing but her fading interest. On a broader scale, this pattern shapes the world around you. When you live on this treadmill of overgiving, always predictable, always available, you become a pawn in a game where women are drawn to tension, to scarcity, to the unreadable man who commands respect. You're competing with countless others, all vying for her attention, and your neediness makes you just another option, not the undeniable force she's wired to chase. In modern dating culture, this perpetuates a cycle of disposability. Men who give too much are taken for granted, while those who embody restraint, who hold their frame, stand out. The bystander effect in attraction dynamics plays a role here. When everyone gives freely, no one commands desire, allowing women to be drawn to the man who seems untouchable. Your overgiving doesn't just hurt you, It fuels a world where true desire is reserved for those who know the silent rules of power. The stakes are higher than you think. Every moment you spend overgiving, becoming predictable, letting your need for her define you, is a moment you're not becoming the man who naturally commands her desire. You feel it, don't you? The quiet ache of being unseen. The fear that you're meant to be more, but can't break free from this cycle of effort and rejection. If you keep going like this, what will you lose next? Your confidence, your relationships, your very sense of self. There's a way out, a rebellion against this trap, a path to embody the power Machiavelli knew could make you unreadable, unshakable, and desired. Let's take that step and discover how to become the man she can't help but chase. You've seen the devastating toll of overgiving, how it's left you invisible, eroded your self-respect, and trapped you in a cycle of rejection. All while pushing her further away, instead of sparking the primal desire you crave. You've been playing a game that strips you of power, conditioned to believe that endless kindness, constant availability, and overt devotion will make her want you, make her see you as the man she can't resist. But here's the rebellion Machiavelli's wisdom urges you to embrace. Stop giving to be seen and start commanding to be desired. The unreadable man, the one who embodies controlled presence, mystery, and self-mastery, isn't the one who chases her gaze. He's the one who makes her chase his. This radical shift will empower you to break free from the trap of predictability, to become a man who naturally ignites her longing, leaving her unable to look away. First, hold your frame with unshakable stillness. You've been filling her silences with desperate words, chasing her when she pulls back, reacting to her tests with explanations and pleas, thinking it shows you care. But Machiavelli knew that power goes to the most unreadable man, the one who doesn't fold under pressure. When she tests you, her silence, her absence, her sudden shift in tone, don't chase, stand still. In a conversation, if she grows quiet or withdraws, don't rush to fill the void. Let the silence hang. Let her feel the weight of your calm. In a relationship, if she steps back, don't step forward desperately. Hold your ground, breathe deeply, and let your stillness speak. Psychologically, this taps into her nervous system's need for stability. Your calm becomes the anchor she craves, the immovable force she can't help but lean toward. Practice this today. The next time she tests you with distance, pause for 10 seconds, feel your own center, and watch how her energy shifts toward you. Next, create tension through mystery and scarcity. You've been conditioned to be an open book, always available, always sharing, always giving her full access to your thoughts and time, thinking it'll make her stay. But Machiavelli understood that access equals value, and what's freely given is quietly discarded. Protect your presence. Make it rare. Don't always be reachable. Let her wonder where you are, what you're thinking, who you're with. In a relationship, don't share every thought or reply instantly to every message. Leave some parts of you undefined, some moments unshared. At a gathering, don't linger too long. Leave at the peak of connection, letting her feel the absence of your energy. Neurologically, this creates a dopamine loop. Her brain craves the uncertainty, making her think about you long after you're gone. You're not manipulating. You're sculpting desire, becoming a man whose attention feels earned, whose presence feels like a thunderclap because it's scarce. Finally, detach to reclaim your power. You've been staying, giving, chasing, even when she disrespects you, thinking your loyalty proves your worth. But Machiavelli knew that anything you can't detach from already owns you. If she crosses your boundaries, if she's dismissive, flaky, or takes you for granted, walk away, quietly, completely, without drama. Don't chase her validation. Let her feel the void of your absence. In life, don't cling to a connection that demands you abandon your self-respect. Choose your own sovereignty first, always. This isn't about cruelty. It's about showing that your energy is valuable, that you're a man who doesn't fear starting over. Historically, men like Humphrey Bogart embodied this. His quiet detachment made him magnetic, a man women couldn't resist because he never begged for their gaze. You can do the same, turning every withdrawal into a moment of your power, every boundary into a testament to your worth. This rebellion defies everything you've been taught. Society will push you to give more, to chase harder, to be the nice guy. But every time you choose stillness over reaction, scarcity over availability, detachment over neediness, you grow stronger. You start to feel it. Her gaze lingers, her curiosity deepens, and your presence becomes undeniable. Machiavelli's rules aren't about manipulation. They're about becoming the man who commands desire, who ignites longing by being unshakably himself. As we move to the final truth, you'll see how this rebellion isn't just a way to break free. It's a way to redefine attraction, to become the man she can't stop chasing. Are you ready to step fully into that power? You've rebelled against the trap of overgiving, embracing stillness, mystery, and detachment to reclaim your power, shifting the dynamic so her gaze lingers, her curiosity deepens, and your presence becomes a force she can't ignore. You've stopped chasing her validation through endless effort, choosing instead to embody the unreadable, anchored man who commands desire, who makes her feel the tension of your scarcity, the weight of your sovereignty. But here's the ultimate truth Machiavelli's wisdom reveals. True power isn't in winning her, it's in becoming the man who doesn't need to. The man who commands her desire isn't the one who controls her, but the one who controls himself, becoming so whole, so unshakably rooted in his own truth, that his very existence becomes a gravitational pull she can't escape. Not because he sought her, but because he sought himself. This revelation redefines everything, turning your pursuit into presence, your need into strength, and your life into a testament to the man you were always meant to be. Machiavelli understood that power goes to the most unreadable man, but the deepest truth is that your real power comes from self-mastery, from becoming a man who governs his own emotions, who sculpts his presence with precision, who doesn't need her gaze to shine because his light burns from within. You've been chasing her to feel worthy, to feel whole, to feel like you matter. But the ultimate truth flips this on its head. The man who ignites her deepest desire is the one who's already whole, who doesn't need her to breathe because he's the storm and the calm, the fire and the anchor all at once. Stillness, scarcity, detachment. These aren't just tools to attract her. They're reflections of a man who's mastered his own battlefield, who radiates a sovereignty so complete that her instincts can't help but respond. When you become the man who doesn't need her approval, who commands his own gravity, you transcend the game of attraction. You become the only game, not because you played her, but because you played yourself into becoming undeniable. Philosophically, this truth aligns with Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch, the overman who creates his own values, who transcends societal norms, who doesn't need external validation to define his worth. The pain of her indifference, the exhaustion of chasing her gaze, the anxiety of not being enough, it all stems from tying your value to her desire, from living in a scarcity mindset that begs for her approval. But when you master yourself, when you govern your emotions with precision, you become unshakable. Carl Jung would add that this mastery comes from integrating your shadow, the part of you that fears rejection, that craves validation, that hides your true power. By facing that shadow, by becoming whole, you radiate a presence that's magnetic, a depth that ignites her longing without you needing to chase. You don't need her to desire you. You are desire, a force she can't ignore, because you've become the sun burning from your own core. Psychologically, this revelation is transformative. Chasing her validation keeps you in a cycle of stress, flooding your brain with cortisol, eroding your self-esteem with every rejection. But when you master your own state, when you choose stillness over reaction, you break that cycle. You lower stress, allowing your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for clarity and emotional control, to take over. You feel calmer, more grounded, more in command. Studies show that men who cultivate self-mastery report higher emotional resilience and deeper connections, because they're no longer at the mercy of her whims. They're at the helm of their own reality. You might find yourself forming relationships that matter, not because you need them, but because you choose them, and that choice makes all the difference. This changes how you live. You walk through the world differently now, with a quiet certainty, a presence that bends the room without a word. You're not the man you were, the one who chased, who overgave, who lived for her approval. You're a man who governs his own emotions, who commands desire through his restraint. His mystery, his unshakable truth. Think of someone like Marlon Brando, whose raw self-possession made women fall without him ever begging for their attention. You can do the same, turning every interaction into a reflection of your sovereignty, every silence into a moment of your power. Picture this. You're back at that dinner, but now she's the one leaning in, her eyes locked on you, drawn to the man who doesn't need her to burn, because you already do. This is Machiavelli's ultimate truth. True desire comes from within, and when you embody it, she chases you, not because you sought her, but because you became the man she can't resist. Step into that power, live it, and let it redefine everything. You've journeyed through the shadows of overgiving, felt the weight of chasing her validation, and uncovered the unseen costs that left you predictable, controlled, and disconnected from your own power. You've learned Machiavelli's ultimate truth. True desire comes from mastering yourself, embodying stillness, mystery, and detachment that make you whole. A man who doesn't need her gaze to burn, but whose very existence becomes a force she can't resist. You're no longer the man who begs to be seen. You're the unreadable man who commands her longing, a man whose presence alone makes her unable to look away. Start today. Take one small step to reclaim your power. The next time she tests you with silence, hold your stillness for 10 seconds. Feel your own gravity, and watch how her energy shifts toward you. Practice this in every interaction, and feel the transformation. Her curiosity deepens, her desire ignites, and your sovereignty becomes magnetic. You've learned to be the man she can't resist, not by giving more, but by needing less. How does it feel to command desire without chasing? Share in the comments. What's one way you'll hold your frame today, and how did it change the dynamic? Your story could inspire another man to break free from neediness. If this resonated with you, hit the like button. It lets us know you want more content like this. Subscribe and tap the bell so you don't miss our next dive into power and self-mastery. Share this with a man who's been giving too much, chasing too hard. He might need this wisdom to become the man she can't stop wanting. The world will keep pushing you to give, to chase, to bend. But now you know the truth. You don't need her to be whole. You are the storm, the anchor, the man who radiates power in silence. Step into that sovereignty, live it, and build a life where her desire follows. Not because you demanded it, but because you became the man she can't forget. You're not just attracting her, you're commanding the game, and the world will never feel the same again.